The elite fleet emerges and comes face to face with the Covenant. Now we get probably one of the best lines in any of the games.
Brute ships, staggered line. Shipmaster, they outnumber us 3-1.
Then it is an even fight. All cruisers fire at will. Burn their mongrel hides.
That's my boy! Also, would you look at that location? This definitely ain't no Halo. What the hell is that? We don't focus on it too much, but instead we're told that Truth Ship is not here, so it's your job to go and find him. A group of Pelicans is deployed and most narrowly navigate out of the naval battle to deploy on the ground of whatever this place is. As soon as you step back into the role of the chief, you're given a few seconds to appreciate your surroundings from the back of the Pelican. A desert stretches out in all sides. The multiple arms of this superstructure curl up into the sky, and as the chiefs and ODSTs step out, they notice the Milky Way galaxy in the sky. They're a long way from home, far further than any human has ever gone. The ODST captain calls to Chief and leads him to an elevated position overlooking some Covenant units, saying his ODSTs will follow whatever Chief does. Now begins the game's sniper section, and just a side note, I love Halo 3 Sniper. It's smooth and simple, but the change in the scope from just a green light or lines to an almost smaller screen of what the player can see is a great visual touch. And of course, it's still fun to use, slaying grunts and jackals and popping the hats off of brutes with ease. The ODSTs are great company for this mission thanks to the Forward Unto Dawn and Pelicans dropping supplies from above, so there's plenty of long-range weapons you can supply them to help you snipe. Even an extra sniper you can give them. Moving on through these wonderfully lit caves, Chief and the ODSTs come across the Coveys trying to set up another AA cannon, which you stop the construction of by sniping away at every enemy that comes your way. These sections feel reminiscent of the CE mission Truth and Reconciliation, but obviously with a wholly different environment. Small but open areas with different types of Covenant units to take out in the sandy desert of this strange world. But that won't be all this mission offers. With your ODSTs, you can make quick work of the brutes and hunters and push through a Forerunner building. As our first main reintroduction to a Forerunner architecture, it's a great but brief glimpse. The metals are a mixture of bronze and silver with details and lights of purple and blue. The designs, especially in comparison to the Covenant and UNSC, are so clearly ancient and alien, and once again Halo 3 achieves the spot of my favourite aesthetic for a certain faction. At the end of the building, we can see the Covenant are shooting down human ships, many of which have crashed along the path we'll have to take to find the Forward Unto Dawn a safe place to set down. Which brings us to a new vehicle introduction, the Prowler. It's essentially the Brute's version of the Spectre, a troop carrier with a mounted plasma turret, once again, like the Spectre, operating as the Covenant's response to the Warthog, but instead with a distinctly Brute look. Taking out the pilots and crew rewards you with a decent vehicle to carry your ODST and Marine friends through the mission, unless you want to choose the Mongoose for what's ahead, which is, well, it's fast, but it's not going to do much to defend you here. Thankfully, there is a spare rocket launcher you can dig out of the crashed Pelican, so you can pass it onto a Marine to cover you in the Goose or the Prowler. We've now transitioned from a sniper section to a light vehicles section as Chief and the Marines take the vehicles they can find and cut through the Covenant scouting forces. It seems the Covenant aren't faring too well in the battle raging on above either, as the destroyed Phantoms lie in your path. There's another massive Forerunner building ahead protected by heavy Brute fortifications, but you'll have a little surprise help. It seems that whatever the Brutes have done here have activated the installation's Sentinel defenses, and the little robots are helping against the Covenant. But because of that, they've locked the building down, and the only person who can likely help with that is Guilty Spark. And on the other side, Johnson's Pelican has spotted a cartographer, a map to everything on this superstructure, and hopefully something that will help find the Prophet of Truth. But this still isn't exactly the best place for the Forward Unto Dawn to land, so you'll need to look elsewhere. The only other route takes you through more Covenant heavy units, including choppers, Wraiths, and anti-air Wraiths. After that skirmish, the LZ is clear, and we get probably one of my favourite in-game moments in Halo.
Commander, bring her down.
Roger that. Beginning my descent.
Look, up high! Here she comes!
Is the Dawn rated for atmosphere?
I guess we're gonna find out. Hey, take cover!
Very little in any of the other games compares to something like this. Just having the Forward Unto Dawn drop down from the heavens and in her descent blow away all the rubble and even the player's vehicle if they're too close is such an experience, and I'm glad it wasn't relegated to a cutscene. And with the Dawn landed, she unloads her supply of Scorpion tanks for Chief to take control of. Now we've gone from a sniper mission, to a light vehicle mission, to a heavy vehicle mission. You have more Marines, you have Warthogs, you have Scorpions, you have Guilty Spark. You're ready to push through the Forerunner building and fight your way to the Cartographer. And we're once again graced with possibly one of the greatest lines in the series, following some amazing moments. I love the Marines. We also get some great banter as a Marine Sergeant calls Guilty Spark a robot and he actually seems to get offended. There's plenty more Phantoms that you can destroy if you move quick enough, and plenty of Wraiths to ruin as you return to the Forerunner building and step out on foot for the time being. Spark will help you with the door, and you can even stumble upon a supply of Sentinel beams and some Forerunner equipment. A sentry turret. It's basically a little immobile sentinel that you can place wherever you like. As for the sentinel beam, it's still quirky and weird and satisfying to use, very little change here. After activating a bridge for the Marines to cross, Chief steps outside to see that a Scarab is on the field, and in a moment reminiscent of Halo 2, a Marine will drift towards you with a Gauss Warthog ready to go. The Gauss Hog is just... well, it's still God tier. Point the big stick at something to sentence it to death. It's so powerful and entertaining. Taking either the Gauss Hog or a Scorpion, you and your death squad of Marines slay every Wraith, Chopper and Marauder in your way until the Scarab returns, granting you another boss battle with the vehicle, this time with heavier armor on your side. And it's still just as gratifying to take it out a second time. Arthas even congratulates you from within the Shadow of Intent. With that, it's back on foot for the remainder of the mission. Arbiter returning to your side and patting you on the back for your accomplishments. I like that you can slowly see the hatred and tension between Chief and Arbiter erode over the course of the game. Arbiter still clearly has a lot of resentment for everything that happened to him at the start of the game, but with every mission he becomes more friendly with the Chief. And after the two help each other achieve both their goals, the defense of Earth, slaying the Flood, finding truth, there is a bond you can see forming. Oh, and the next room gives us a brute pissing against the wall, which is... well, that's one way to show your devotion to your gods, I guess. You kill some more brutes and then we finally get some answers to where we are. We're beyond the galaxy on the actual Ark, the station that will give Truth the control to fire all the Halos at once. But with the Cartographer, we have at least discovered Truth's location, which is... not good. He's activated a barrier around a communication array that Spark says if he continues doing what he's doing, he will kill everyone. So we can only assume that Truth is almost ready to fire the Halos. But the Covenant aren't done with you yet. They've deployed air and ground support. Arbiter decides to help clear the skies by hijacking a Banshee, while Chief will clear the LZ for a Pelican one level down. And now we get a little character moment that I honestly wasn't expecting. As you progress, you'll spot a chieftain cursing at you and fleeing, leaving you to fight brute stalkers, invisible brutes armed with new weapons such as radar jamming equipment, flame grenades, and the Mauler, which is what I can only describe as a brute shotgun pistol. It's a strange weapon, but will absolutely shred any brutes if dual-wielded. Radar jamming does little to help the player in a campaign setting, but flame grenades are great for area denial as they scorch the ground and set fire on anyone who steps on the affected section. Past this, you can spot that brute chieftain calling you down to meet with him, and he challenges you to a one-on-one battle. It's another small moment of interactivity in world or character building. This is just a nameless brute chieftain, just another unit in the Covenant army you have to face. And yet the ending of this mission gives this one guy personality. He charges at you with a gravity hammer, his jump brute minions watching over you, and you can face him in that 1v1 and take him down. Or, you know, make things harder for yourself and shoot his jump brutes, making them aggro to you and having them all attack you at once. Obviously, if you beat him in the 1v1, the jump brutes aren't going to be happy anyway and will leap to attack you, but it's just a fun encounter. It's a great moment of in-game storytelling that Halo 3 offers, which will wrap up the mission once you've completed it. Johnson comes to pick up Chief only to see a massive swarm of Sentinels which Spark wants to follow to see if he can find that solution to the Flood Cortana promised. But Arbiter and Keyes deny him. If Truth can fire the rings at any point, he should be the priority. And so they take Chief and the Marines to that communication station to face down Truth and take out the Covenant once and for all. If anyone were to tell me that the Ark was their favourite mission, I would have a hard time arguing against them. It really is a great showcase of everything the Halo games as a whole has to offer. Long-range combat, light vehicles, heavy vehicles, boss battles, close-range combat with friendly AI that's instantly likable and incredibly helpful every step of the way, and can be made even more helpful by the player's actions. On top of that, the banter and character moments with the ODSTs, Marines, Arbiter, Artas, and even the Brute Chieftain at the end make for some pleasant and memorable moments. And of course, I will never stop congratulating Halo 3 for committing to delivering as much as possible in-game, rather than through a cutscene. The landing of the forward interdome might be one of the greatest spectacles the series has ever seen. Sure, it would have been cool to see it land in a cutscene, but to feel it push against you in the vehicles, to see it barreling towards you from the sky, it's a different experience altogether. Plus, the score elevates the scene to even higher heights. It's a great mission. It's a lot of people's favorite mission. But it isn't mine. Mine is the Covenant. You're thrown right into the action. 3 Spires are holding up Truth's barriers. Johnson's team will take down 1, Arbiter another, and Chief the final Spire. The Covenant are immediately upon you, and as soon as the game starts, you're granted another new weapon, the Spartan Laser. A powerful gun that once charged up will unleash a burning laser beam that cuts through everything like butter. Brutes, Shades, Wraiths, Banshee. This beast just puts holes in them and it's great. Once you've taken the beach, then Pelicans will begin dropping a Warthog for you to drive to the Spire. The locale is very reminiscent of CE. The pine forests and winding waterways just look fantastic in these upgraded graphics, as do the Forerunner buildings that seem built into the natural environment. It's a fairly simple fight with some Forerunner rooms and ascending the elevator to the top of the spire to face down a Chieftain. Chief and Arbiter shut down their respective spires, but Johnson is having more trouble than anticipated and has vanished. So his job is going to fall to the both of you. Making your way back to the beach, you're given one great gift. The UNSC air vehicle you've spotted in other missions is dropping down and the pilot is allowing you to get behind the wheel. This is the Hornet, and it's sublime. You've got dual miniguns and missile pods to use while 2 Marines can stand on the side and shoot with whatever weapons they're carrying. And unlike the Banshee, the Hornet is a VTOL craft, so you can hover in place if you like. It's definitely not as fast as the Banshee, but it hits a lot harder and gives you far better control of where you're shooting thanks to being able to sit in one place. And you're gonna use it to reconnect with the elites and push past swarms of Banshees and Phantoms to get to Johnson's tower. It's the first real moment of aerial combat, and getting a whole new vehicle to enjoy it with makes it all the more special. It is, however, a brief section, as you'll have to land and push into the spire with ODSTs, Marines, and elites. Having both of them at your side for this push is once again fantastic, showing how close both of these species have come thanks to their shared goal. Both of them working together to take out the swarms of brutes, drones, and hunters that stand in your way, vowing to guard the entrance as we once again ascend the elevator to face down the War Chieftain and his stalkers. Finally, the shield is deactivated, and the Shadow of Tent can glass Truth and finish this.
Now, Prophet, your end has come.
High Charity. By the gods, brace for impact!
It's never easy, is it? High Charity must have come to Earth and then used the portal at Void to bring itself to the Ark, delivering a Flood army and a grave mine to this installation, and knocking out the Shadow of Intent. The Flood dropped down at Chief's location, forcing the elites and him to fight through them before they can get to Truth. But it's going to take more than that to stop this alliance. But worryingly, the arrival of the Flood will only force Truth to advance his plans. He could activate the rings at any point. He has to be stopped now. For once, the Covenant pose a far greater threat than the Flood. The elites and humanity armor up, being delivered a mongoose, a ghost hog, and a scorpion. It all depends on this. The music swells as the main theme plays. Chief, humanity, the elites, giving it everything they've got to get to Truth's tower. The environment shifts to a snowy mountainscape. 2 Hornets arrive to give you some air support, and to top it all off, 2 Scarabs drop from space to stop you. It's a frantic and powerful final display of power from the Covenant, and it's not going to be easy no matter what route you take. But there really is no experience like taking the Hornet and jumping off onto the Scarab, and taking it out before anyone even gets the chance to cripple it. Once they're taken down, all that's left is whatever's within the tower. Arbiter and Chief are the only 2 going inside. The Flood are approaching. Truth is ready to activate the rings. It's almost over. We get one more Cortana interruption, which here I think it fits. It explains how the flood got here. Cortana tells us that to stop the torture, she told the Gravemind where the portal led to. Immediately after, Truth begins declaring his intentions, showing he's captured Johnson. Keyes asks how close Chief and Arbiter are to the target, but they haven't got a chance to get close enough to stop him. It's here we transition over to Truth himself, as the brutes are punching around Johnson, who's trying to push a chieftain to kill him. Truth, however, intervenes. Despite all his faith, he knows he cannot activate the rings by himself, and it needs a human touch. A heretical truth he intends to take to the grave, only to be stopped by a pelican crashing into the room. Keyes has arrived and plans to save Johnson.
Get out of here!
Not without you.
You delay the inevitable. One of you will light the rings. You cannot hope to kill them all.
You're right.
Do it. Me. Then you. Now. No! Your forefathers wisely set aside their compassion, steeled themselves for what needed to be done. I see now why they left you behind. You were weak, and gods must be strong.
The rings are activated, about to fire. We're in the last few seconds, but we'll have some unexpected allies.
Do not shoot, but listen. Let me lead you safely to our foe. Only you can halt what he has set in motion.
Oh, hell yes. Oh boy! For the first and only time in the history of this franchise, you and the Arbiter get to fight alongside the Flood. And it's just as gross and horrifying as you can imagine. Every brute you kill increases their numbers. You can watch as infection forms wrestle with brutes of every variety, from jump brutes to chieftains, and often having the popcorn pieces win, and watching them dive inside the poor aliens' bodies. Well, there is something morbidly awesome about the whole prospect. It is, well, morbid. And even Truth now is panicking. His final transmission is to damn the heretics who fight against him. Also, here's a neat little note about the environment. These holographic rings are clearly meant to represent the Halo installations, but the fourth one is damaged, which of course reflects the fact you blew up Installation 04 in CE. Nice. And at the final walkway, the remainder of the Covenant forces have already been culled before you could arrive. And so we're finally here. Arbiter and the Chief have reached the activation panel for the Halos. Chief quietly mourns over the loss of Keyes while Arbiter angrily stomps in the direction of Truth. Here we are. This is Arbiter's moment. From the very beginning of Halo 2, every twist and turn in his life, every dark moment, all of it was engineered by the Prophet of Truth. Only recently has Arbiter found his own agency, and is now facing down the man who not only ruined his life, but attempted to genocide his species. Arbiter is ready to have his revenge, only to learn Truth is infected, for which Arbiter even orders the Gravemind to stand down so he can kill Truth himself. The man literally barks at the ancient enemy of his gods for getting in the way. I love Arbiter so goddamn much. Chief deactivates the rings, and Arbiter gets what he's earned.
I am Truth, the voice of the Covenant.
So, you must be silenced.
It's over. The Arbiter has his revenge. The head of the Empire has been taken out. The war is over. Humanity and the elites have defeated the Covenant, but that does leave one other faction.
Now the gate has been unlatched, headstones pushed aside, corpses shift and offer room. A fate you must abide.
We trade one villain for another.
Now that the Halos have been deactivated, the Flood can do as they please, and immediately turn on the Arbiter and Chief. The two flee back to where they came from, but Chief begins seeing things. Seeing another Cortana vision giving him cryptic pieces of advice that will actually come into play later. So, I mean, I still don't really like it because of how often these things were used early on, and how unnecessarily. But this one once again does have some meaning to it. Chief also spots a ghost of Cortana leading him to a balcony where the true purpose of the Ark is revealed. It is the foundry of the Halos. This massive superstructure makes Halos. It was in the middle of making a Halo to replace Installation 04. Guilty Spark seems pleased about this and asks what Chief intends to do. Well, there's only one thing that can be done in this situation. The Ark is out of range of the galaxy, meaning if the Halo is fired out here, the denizens of the Milky Way will still be safe. So the ring must be activated to wipe out the Flood on the Ark. But how does Chief intend to fire the Halo? Well, that little cryptic hint from Cortana should give you a clue. But first, he's gonna have to retrieve her from the heart of High Charity. Before we talk about that, I really hope you can understand just how much I love this mission and why I say it's my favourite. It offers you a variety of style of combat encounters, the tension is constantly ramping up, several character arcs have been concluded, one of them in the most satisfying manner possible, and not only that, the war that was the setting for all the games and all the expanded media so far has finally come to a close. The Covenant has been defeated. It's gone. This is the last we see of them in this game, and the last canonically we'll see of them as a great threat. Good night, sweet prince. But the Flood also get their time to shine in this mission too. Though they're not the main focus until the very end, the brief section where we get to fight alongside the Flood is amazing. It's like nothing we've ever had before. The Flood has always felt impossibly powerful and unstoppable, and now that power is at our side, helping us for a good 5 minutes. It's a roller coaster of thrills and emotions, a 10 out of 10 mission. Now let's get to the part of the game that gave child me nightmares. Chief has secured a Banshee and has flown into the heart of the former Covenant Holy City on a one-man mission to secure Cortana as the humans and elites regroup to leave through the Void Portal before the Halo can be fired. And now we get to fully experience an environment that was only just teased to us before. A true Flood level. In contrast to the lush foliage of rusted metals, we now have slippery grotesqueries and pools of ooze. It's barely recognizable as the heart of the Covenant Empire that we fought our way through before. Where once were columns of decorated purple and silver are now covered in sacks and writhing tendrils. It's a hostile and unwelcoming environment. So yeah, good job on the designers for making me feel on edge. And, of course, if you've played this mission, you will know this is the most monologue interruption-heavy mission. Gravemind will constantly taunt you as you progress, all the while you can see Cortana slipping further and further into corruption. It seems like a Flood infection isn't just physical, it can be digital as well, making the Flood even more dangerous and scary. And it's awful to watch Cortana slowly degrade. Watching her cry and scream makes me feel so sorry for her, and is more than enough motivation to push someone deeper into this hellish pit to go rescue her. It's incredible how well Bungie have managed to convince us that, despite Cortana in-universe just being data with a holographic form merely made to represent her programming, we can feel empathy and fully believe that this computer is in pain. So let's go save the little blue GF. Though that's going to prove difficult because not only are there just so many Flood in here, but it's incredibly easy to get lost. Entryways are hidden behind growths and the combat can turn a player around and have them trek backwards. Navigating this mission is tough. Though a large part of me does argue that this is a benefit specifically towards this mission as it ramps up the tension of being in the hive of flood, I do wish that some hallways were more identifiable. Just having a little trace of that Covenant architecture wouldn't hurt. Also, pure forms are still the work of the devil. They just make every combat encounter that bit more frantic. The rooms get progressively darker. The numbers of flood keep growing and growing. Cortana is getting closer and closer to complete corruption, even having her voice and the Gravemind's blend. But you're so close. You can't give up on her. All you have to do is break this shield.
You found me.
Cortana is at first faintly lit, convinced it's too late, only for Chief to bring her back up, her light returning along with her snark. Cortana is back. No more flood, no more cryptic nonsense. We have our sarcastic voice in our head. I love this little moment. Cortana has been through the worst kind of hell, and she pushes through it, and the first thing we get is a snide retort to the Chief. But yeah, what was the solution you promised, Cortana? Well, it turns out she held onto the index from Combat Evolved, the key to turning the Halo on. With her and it, we can now activate the Ark's new Halo. But first we need to get out of High Charity and reference Combat Evolved once again for good measure.
Just keep your head down. There's 2 of us in here now, remember?
Cortana clearly still has some trauma over her time at High Charity and wants out as soon as possible. Gravemind, however, presumably listening in on the conversation, knows now he can't let that happen and will be trying even harder to keep the 2 from firing the Halo. To slow the flood down, Cortana tells Chief to blow up High Charity by destroying the exposed reactor cores nearby. After missing Cortana for so long and having Chief's head as silent, it's a welcome change to have her back. I mean, it would have been more of a relief if we didn't have so many of those weird flashes, but you get what I mean. You blow up the reactors and make a mad dash for your exit, but Cortana's detected someone inside High Charity fighting against the Flood too. Who the hell could it be? Homeboy returned to help Chief out with a flamethrower in hand. Cortana's a little confused, but hey, he's helping. Arbiter has secured an old Pelican from In Amber Clad, the frigate the Flood used to infect High Charity in the first place, and he, Cortana, and Chief evacuate the exploding city and make their way to the Halo. Cortana is a pretty great flood mission. The aesthetic alone will be enough to carry it, but it does come with a few problems. Notably how easy it is to get lost and just how annoying the pure forms can get when you're locked in a room with 20 of them. It comes pretty close to achieving the horror of the flood seen in the likes of CE, but while that was of the unknown, in here it's more about how overwhelming the odds are and how grotesque the level and the flood in general are. Not only that, but Cortana's descent into madness is some pretty chilling stuff. But that does bring us to Gravemind. I do miss the poetry and the eloquence of the old Gravemind. He nearly achieves it in moments here, but it seems like Halo-free itis has set in on him as well, and he just has some very weird dialogue choices. Yeah, it's probably in character for the Gravemind to screech like this, but I don't know. I think it makes him a far more scarier character if he's always seems like he's in control, always has his emotions in check. Yeah, the scream is scary, but I think Gravemind could have gone without it. Regardless, B+. Pretty good with a few mistakes. Now, let's finish this. Hello once again, lads, it's me. Thank you for getting through this, if indeed you did. Part 4 should be coming out soon once again, hopefully within a week. If not, I guess within 2 weeks. And that should pretty much round up this Halo 3 series. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters, Sortu44 and Kyba. It means a lot to us that you support our work. And thank you for watching. I could kiss you all. Mwah. I'll see you all with part 4 in a week or 2. See ya.